They thought one Champions League was PSG's peak. What if it was only the beginning? PSG began their Club World Cup campaign by brushing aside Atletico Madrid 4-0, with Fabian Ruiz and Vitinha striking before Mayulu and Lee Kang-in sealed progression late on. Igor Jesus stunned PSG as Botafogo won 1-0, leaving the group wide open. Kvaratskhelia and Hakimi responded with a 2-0 win over Seattle, sending PSG into the round of 16. João Neves scored twice as PSG swept into Miami aside 4-0 in the round of 16. Avilés' own goal and Hakimi completed it in style. PSG beat Bayern Munich 2-0 in a tense quarter-final, with Doué and Dembélé finding the net. The night also brought dismissals for Willian Pacho and Lucas Hernandez, but progression to the semi-final was secured. Fabian Ruiz struck twice as PSG blew past Real Madrid 4-0 in the semi-final. Gonçalo Ramos made it 4 late as they marched into the final. Chelsea crushed PSG 3-0 in the Club World Cup final, with Palmer scoring twice before João Pedro added the third. João Neves was later sent off as they were eliminated. Kang-in Lee and Gonçalo Ramos struck late as PSG clawed back from 2 down, then beat Tottenham on penalties to win the UEFA Super Cup. Vitinha's goal secured a 1-0 win at Nantes as PSG opened their league campaign with control. Ruiz's strike gave PSG a 1-0 home win over Angers. PSG carried their away form to Toulouse and won 6-3 in a wild one, with Neves hitting a hat-trick and Dembélé scoring twice from the spot. They climbed to first despite conceding 2 in the closing minutes. Barcola's brace sealed a composed 2-0 win over Lens at the Parc des Princes. Marquinhos set the tone as PSG beat Atalanta 4-0 in the Champions League at the Parc des Princes, with Ramos putting the finish on it late. Marseille then handed PSG a 1-0 Ligue 1 defeat on the road, with an early Marquinhos own goal deciding it. Zabani started the response and Beraldo added the second in a 2-0 home win over Auxerre. PSG moved back to first. Barcelona led, but PSG hit back for a 2-1 Champions League win away from home, Mayulu leveling before Ramos struck late. Lille took a 1-1 Ligue 1 draw from PSG, Mendes opening the scoring before Mbappé levelled late. Back at the Parc des Princes, PSG and Strasbourg shared 6 goals in a 3-3 draw, and Panichelli's brace kept the visitors in it. Doué struck twice as PSG ran away 7-2 at Leverkusen in the Champions League, Garcia scoring both home replies before Vitinha added one late. Hakimi scored twice in a 3-0 win at Brest, and the result sent PSG back to the top. Mendes put PSG ahead at Lorient, but Igor Silva replied 2 minutes later and it finished 1-1. Ramos settled a tight 1-0 win over Nice at the Parc des Princes with a late strike. Bayern Munich beat PSG 2-1 in the Champions League, with Luis Diaz scoring twice before his dismissal at the break. João Neves struck in added time as PSG beat Lyon 3-2, with Nicolas Tagliafico sent off for the hosts. Lee Kang-in set PSG on their way in a 3-0 win over Le Havre, before João Neves and Bradley Barcola wrapped it up late. The unbeaten league run reached 8. Champions League night brought a 5-3 thriller with Tottenham, and Vitinha stole the show with a hat-trick as PSG came through a wild comeback. Monaco left PSG with a 1-0 defeat, with Minamino's strike enough to decide it. The result dropped them from first to second. Kvaratskhelia hit twice as PSG thrashed Rennes 5-0 at home after Jeremy Jacquet was sent off. At San Mamés, PSG were held to a goalless Champions League draw by Athletic Club. PSG edged Metz 3-2 away in a lively Ligue 1 contest with Ramos, Njantou and Doué on target. Metz kept pushing but the visitors held on. Ramos struck twice as PSG eased past Vendée Fontenay 4-0 in the Coupe de France round of 64, with Doué and Dembélé also on target. Doué and Dembélé put PSG in front and back on top as they beat Paris 2-1 at home, with Jubal's penalty briefly levelling things up. Dembélé struck early, Ramos rescued PSG in stoppage time, and they beat Marseille on penalties to lift the Trophée des Champions. Ikone's goal on 74 minutes sent Paris through as PSG fell 1-0 at home in the Coupe de France round of 32. Dembélé's brace drove PSG to a 3-0 home win over Lille, and Barcola added a late third. Suarez's brace put Sporting 2-1 up in the Champions League before Kvaratskhelia replied late in Lisbon. PSG edged Auxerre 1-0 through Barcola and moved back to first in the table, making it 5 straight league victories. Against Newcastle in the Champions League, Vitinha struck early and reached 5 goals in the competition. It finished 1-1 at the Parc des Princes. PSG came back from Strasbourg with a 2-1 win despite Hakimi's dismissal as Mendes struck the winner. Marseille was swept aside 5-0 as Dembélé scored twice in the first half before Medina's own goal, Kvaratskhelia and Lee Kang-in completed a 7th straight league win. Dembélé reached 10 goals in all competitions in Rennes, but PSG still fell 3-1 on the road and dropped from first to second. PSG won 3-2 at Stade Louis II in the Champions League first leg, with Doué scoring twice and Golovin's red card swinging the tie. Doué set PSG on their way against Metz, then Barcola and Ramos completed a 3-0 win that lifted them back to first. Monaco went down to 10, and PSG still had to settle for a 2-2 draw in the Champions League second leg. Marquinhos and Kvaratskhelia scored, and PSG advanced to the round of 16. Barcola's goal was enough away to Le Havre, sealing a 1-0 win and extending PSG's league scoring run to 10 straight matches. Monaco left PSG with a 1-3 home defeat, even with Barcola on target again. His goal brought him to 10 in Ligue 1. Kvaratskelia's late double capped a superb PSG display as they beat Chelsea 5-2 in the Champions League round of 16. At Stamford Bridge, PSG carried their momentum through Kvaratskhelia, Barcola and Mayulu, striking in a 3-goal second-leg win to seal quarter-final progress. Nuno Mendes converted from the spot before Désiré Doué drove Fernandes, and Warren Zaïre-Emery completed a 4-0 win at Nice. Dembélé struck twice as they beat Toulouse 3-1 at home, and Ramos added in stoppage time. Doué and Kvaratskhelia put Liverpool away 2-0 in the first leg of this Champions League quarter-final. Dembélé's brace, capped by a late second, finished the job at Anfield and sent them through to the semi-final, a result that made the dynasty talk feel earned. Lyon handed PSG a 2-1 home defeat at the Parc des Princes, despite Kvaratskelia's stoppage-time goal. Kvaratskhelia answered that defeat with 2 goals in a 3-0 win over Nantes, moving to 15 in all competitions and showing that last season's peak had become this season's platform. Lee Kang-in struck early and PSG stayed in control away at Angers, with Mayulu and Beraldo adding to a 3-0 win before Ramos saw red in the second half. Kvaratskhelia and Dembélé both scored twice as PSG edged Bayern 5-4 in a 9-goal Champions League semi-final classic. From that European high, PSG were held to a 2-2 Ligue 1 draw at home to Lorient, with Mbaye striking early and Warren Zaïre-Emery adding the second. Dembélé struck after 3 minutes, but Harry Kane's stoppage-time equaliser left PSG drawing 1-1 at Bayern before they went through to the Champions League final, a composed finish to another elite test. Doué's late strike settled a 1-0 home win over Brest and sealed the league title. Kvaratskhelia opened the scoring against Lens, and Mbaye wrapped up a 2-0 win in added time. PSG's league scoring streak reached 20 matches, but Gouiri's late second goal earned Paris FC a 2-1 victory. PSG and Arsenal finished 1-1 in Budapest before Paris held their nerve on penalties to retain the Champions League. The question was never whether PSG were champions, it was whether they could stay champions. By season's end, victories over Barcelona, Liverpool, Bayern and Arsenal had provided the answer as PSG retained the Champions League and turned a breakthrough into a dynasty.